Okay, so we're gonna crest a couple different dozen arrows, more than what we've been building so far. So these are a custom order. The customer wanted a light brown body stain and a hand-painted swirl finish on the crown. The customer wants a black cresting band with silver accents. All right, here we go. I've set this so that I'm gonna have just a little bit of an opening here on the edge of the line, and I'm okay with that look. So for this dozen arrows, I'm gonna crest from this line over to this line. And you notice I have a pattern on here. I don't always follow the pattern. I've just started using different lines through here, and you can change the pattern up any way you want. So we're gonna put some black on there. You see it's kind of getting low, so this might be a little thick. We'll see how it looks on there. Almost went the wrong line. Now you'll notice that I don't go right onto the line. I will always start inside and then push my way over towards the line, and when I really want a fine line, I can turn the brush sideways and get right on there. And I'm moving over. You see how if you look towards the top, see I can see just a little bit of the brush strokes in there. That's telling me that the paint in this jar is just a little bit thick. So I'm gonna add just a touch of water, mix it up, and I'll be right back. Tell you what, cresting around a camera is not the easiest thing to do. There we go. After a while, you'll learn to get a feel for this paint. Now you see the difference? See how there's still some brush strokes over to the right here of the band, and over on the left it went smooth. Just adding a little bit of water to it took care of those brush strokes and that texture. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Not only are we painting for color, but we're painting for texture. And now what I'm doing is going over the old stuff and just gonna kind of smooth it out. There we go. Some of what you're seeing, and I can rotate it out, is this swirl underneath there. It's pretty smooth, but it will still show up just a little bit there. A lot of that will disappear when I clear coat over the top. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this band dry, and then we'll come back through with silver and we'll put the accent stripes in there. That black stripe has dried. Now you notice I've took off the pattern, because although I have the hash marks written on there or drawn out on there, I don't use those all the time. What I'm looking at is the cresting band. I'm really looking to get a nice line on this side and that side, and then I will just eyeball the center, and I'll put my center line in, and then I'll put one on each side of it. I like doing 3 little stripes in the middle. That's kind of just been something that I've always done. Here we go. So we're gonna go the outside edge first, and I'm controlling the thickness of the line. See, if I barely touch it, it gives me a really fine little line there. But now if I touch it, and then I'm not going side to side, I'm just pushing in, and that gets it thicker. And so I push in more pressure on the edges, and I do the center, because the center I want them to be fine lines as an accent. So here, again, I'm pushing, this is exaggerated, but I'm pushing that brush into the shaft. I'm not going side to side for the thickness on there. And then here I'm going to eyeball the center. Now you notice I did not reload the brush with paint because I don't want a big old glob on there. And I'm just very lightly going to touch there. There's my center line. And I'm going to come over about that far and do that side. I'll come over this far and do this side. And that's about it. So that cresting band, again, the customer wants a simple crest. So we'll load it up here in the spin right. Got it all set, ready to go. One thing I do here is I got the pattern card, and I tape them onto this top bar. That way I can easily peel them off, and I use painter's tape so that it doesn't wreck my pattern. I can use them over and over. All right, well, the first thing I like to do is get my brush wet. And then I'll take it, and I'll take my 2 fingers, and I'll just pinch it in between the two. What that does, you can see it gives me a nice edge. So I got a nice flat blade this way. Then if I turn the brush 90 degrees, I get a nice fine edge, and that's the edge I'll use when I'm doing trim lines with the silver. But right now, that also gives me a nice flat blade to push the paint around, which is what we're going to use next, and we're going to use the green. You'll notice that when I start, I didn't go real close to this line right here. I started just inside. I will load up this center section of where I'm going to paint first and then push the paint over to that edge, and that's what gives you the nice crisp edge on your cresting lines. You can see the green takes quite a bit to get it going, to not have the white show up behind there. Now you can see I'm going back over, and I'm going to go over to the line right there. And I'll go over there a couple times. Now, it also makes a difference where on the shaft you're touching your brush. You can see I'm staying just above the center line. If I want to lay, when I was trying to lay the paint down, I was taking my brush and touching the top so it would pull the paint off of the shaft. If I'm trying to scrape the paint off and get it more onto the brush, I'll move further down, and you can see how it's starting to show white in between there? That's because I'm scraping paint off, where if I move up, I'm spreading it around. So it does matter where you locate your brush on the shaft. You can see you got a little bit of time to work with this stuff, so I'm kind of going over it to smooth it over. Keeping an eye on the line. Alright, so now we're going to start working on the green and yellow arrows. Alright, now to put the pattern on, we're going to load an arrow up. You can see where the area that we want to put the crest on is way down here next to the motor. That's not enough room for me to work. I don't like it located right there. You can do it, but then you're working around this, and it makes it difficult. So we're going to adjust our stop here by loosening the nut. Let's just pull this out, and I just move it out of the way. Then what I'll do is I'll move the arrow and get the arrow closer to where we want it to work. Right here's a nice working area. And now I'll put the stop on there, tighten the nut. I like my patterns on the top. These come standard with a ruler that comes on the bottom. I don't like that because once I put when I'm working this way, I can't see it. My hands are in the way, the brush is in the way. So I like it up on top so that I can see how it's working. Plus then, the machine is rolling the arrow up, as you can see here. So this way I get to see where the paint's going to go in reference to the card. And I like putting my card as close to the arrow as I can get. So you can see here, remember where I split it? Here, on this one I'm trying to cover up this pencil mark. The line where I readjusted, because remember I screwed these up when I was dipping them. And then also where the first dip is. So if I paint over this, it'll span that. So once I get my card there, get my tape, put it on there. The other thing we want to make sure we do is we want to keep our rollers out of the working area. If we get our rollers in the paint, they're going to leave a line in it. So you can see this one's a little close, a little too close for me. So that's where I'll get the box end wrench and just move that O-ring over just a little bit. See this one on the bottom, I could probably get it a little closer just in case there's a wobble in it. It'll help stabilize everything. Move this one a little closer. And now we should be good to go. See that? Nice and smooth. we got our white bands painted on here. Now what I'm going to do is I set it up in the rack. They need a couple of minutes really. It depends on the humidity that you're working in, but it's a nice day in the shop right now, or a nice day outside of the shop right now. I got the doors and windows open, so we got some air movement. This is where I like having this rack, because now I can put it in there. It can sit in there for, really by the time I do the whole dozen, I can go to the beginning and start over and start putting the silver. So I need that paint to dry a little bit, then I can put the accent stripes in there.
People these days seem to think we need technology to get the upper hand. Grandpa taught me long ago how to listen to the land.
Okay, so now for the silver.
Taught me to always feel the wind, walk just like the leaves, and trust my mind and my hand can provide all that I need. This is a long boat country. It's been for many years. And I'll hunt just like the men who walk the trail of tears.
All right, for this last dozen, we're going to break it up. We're going to do 6 and 6 so I can show you a couple different colors. The first 6 we're going to do in a vintage black cherry with a vintage gray, and then we'll break it up with silver accents again. For some reason, silver to me just looks the best for accent colors. In the vintage cherry, it's another one of those that's really finicky for me, especially when you're doing over a white base coat. If you don't, you can see streaks in the paint. So we'll work on that next. And the whole secret to that is getting a very soft, supple brush, and that's where the 2/0 script liners that I have seem to really help that. Same thing with the neon. So on the next 6, we're going to do with a fluorescent yellow.
Yes, I will. It's a long boat country, and I'm glad to say still a few of us left. Wouldn't do it any other way. My bow is made of hickory, backed with the tendon of the elk. Waterproof for bear grease, buckskin for my handle and my shell. And arrows made of cedar, fleshed with feathers from a turkey wing, tipped with hardened steel so sharp, shoot through damn near anything.
When I'm painting 2 colors side by side here, all you got to do is leave a little gap, because I am going to come back through with some silver to trim that out. But when I'm painting right here, you'll see I'll get about that close. I will try not to get any closer, like that, and that will get covered up with silver when I come back through and trim it.
So I challenge you to take the simple road, forget the gadgets and fancy packs. Release an arrow from your own bow, son. There ain't no turning back. Little lumber country, it's been for many years. And I'll hunt just like the men, walk the trail of tears. Yes, I will. This lumber country,
to show you that sometimes on some of these colors, the neons, this black cherry, some of the metallics, you need a softer brush to get a nice consistent coat of paint.
I'm glad to say still a few of us left, wouldn't do it any other way. This is a lone dog country, it's been for many years, and I'll hunt just like the men who died on the Trail of Tears. Yes, I will.
All right, for this neon yellow, I like doing the same thing. The thinner, smaller brush seems to get it to spread out a little better.
This is a lumber country, and it fits my style, and I'll do what I can to keep it around a long, long while. Stepped out from his teepee like a man from another time. Said there's moose steaks on the fire, boys, gin martinis to unwind. And though I never met the man, he seemed like an old friend. He talked to 1,000 campfires and the places that we'd been. Told me secrets of the river and that wild Alaska land. And I took peace in knowing I was in his guiding hand. Slip silently, Pathfinder, slip silently along, teaching by example, code of ethics oh so strong. Slip silently, Pathfinder, and I'll follow close behind, learning skills that men have lost somewhere along the line. To float the mighty moose, John, is a grand and wondrous thing. To be 10 foot from a big bull with a simple stick and string. Find grizzly tracks in the sand and watch caribou on a distant hill. The times when we made camp and shared much more than meals. It was there and on the rocky shore that I felt that primitive spell. The right grin on Jay's face done his job well. Slip silently, Pathfinder, slips.